Remember that Jesus in Matthew chapter 16, verse 3, he reproved primarily the leaders in the Jewish community at the time. He reproved them that they did not know the times they were living in, and they couldn't understand or discern the signs of those times. Matthew 16, verse 3, the Bible says, "And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but ye cannot discern the signs of the times." I think what I'd like to point out to you, what is interesting about this particular statement, is that these are Bible experts. This is not just anybody that Jesus is speaking to. He's not speaking to people who are what we would say the common people, the ordinary Joe. These are people who are Bible experts, and Jesus has to tell them that, in addition to the fact that they're hypocritical, he has to tell them that you can discern the weather. You know when it's going to rain, you know when it's going to be sunny. But you don't know the times in which you live. And he reproved the leaders of his generation, as I believe, as I study, as I observe, as I research, there could well and should well be a reproof for the leaders in the church today, in the same manner. They know so many things about so many subjects, but as I mentioned before, they don't seem to much discern the signs of the times in which we live. In Isaiah chapter 9, verse 16, the prophet Isaiah did something very similar as God speaks through him in verse 16. It says, "For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed." Now here's a very challenging statement, that before Jesus came along, before Jesus was born, came into the world, that there was another period of time when the leadership was reproved by this prophet Isaiah, saying that it's the leaders that are causing my people to go astray by what they're telling them and teaching them. Or perhaps we could even say in a negative fashion, by what they're not telling them and what they're not teaching them. And because of that, the people are destroyed. And I want you to see here, if you turn to the verse in Isaiah 9:16, that even though it's the leader's fault in this particular instance, it's still bad for the people. And I want you to notice that. For instance, if you happen to pick a doctor who is not very proficient, and you may afterwards perhaps produce a lawsuit against this person, maybe they actually were the cause of your loved one's death, or perhaps that something happened to you on the operating table, as a for instance, you may bring a suit against them, and you may win, and they may be found to be guilty, but it's still bad for you. And that's what I want you to see. That leadership, when leadership is bad, and when they don't understand the times, and they don't tell the people this is what we need to do, it's still going to be bad for the people. I'll just give you some food for thought. Number one, as far as the times we live in, the fact that the world, the whole world, not just our country, the whole world is troubled, should be self-evident. It should be self-evident. As it says in our Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident. That means anybody can know this. This is not revelation. This is not God opening the eyes of the blind, spiritually, mentally, intellectually. This is self-evident truth. The world is in a troubled spot because all you have to do is read a newspaper, turn on the local news or national news, international news, and it's self-evident. It's self-evident. Self-evident. Sure, you're pouring out a lot of illustrations, but why do it if it's self-evident? That means you know it. That means everybody knows it. Keep this in mind. I feel to say this here. Many will turn their heads from that. And they'll believe what they want to believe about the world. And that is not going to be good in the end. And that is not going to be helpful, because the time will come that God will give people over to what they want to believe. So I do not suggest that you believe what you want to believe, but just take the world as it is. I don't find it to be any more pleasant than perhaps you do. I really don't. I don't find the truth at times, especially on this point, the world and its troubles and so forth to be very pleasant. And I don't suggest that you dwell on it all day long. I'm just simply saying that it's self-evident, and we want to know then how is this all going to turn out. Thankfully, for which the Bible reveals how it is going to turn out, and for what I am going to concentrate on is what do I do? What do I do in times like this so that it's good for me? The Bible says, "Say unto the wicked, it shall be ill with you," or say to the righteous, it shall be well with you. Well, we have two different outcomes for two different types of people. One aligned with God and one not aligned with God. And I don't think you should have to be told which one you should be.